Welcome to the Communication Skills Workshop. Okay. So, in this workshop, we're going to talk about communication. We're going to talk about the importance of it. We're going to do different exercises to help you see what I'm trying to say, that kind of thing. But it's very important that you guys, communication is a huge, huge factor inside of each and every interview. So I'm going to make sure that everything that we do tonight is focused solely on interviews perspective. This can also be used if you were doing like a public speaking and things like that. But listen, if you have the fear of public speaking, honey, you might have to just get you some Toastmasters or something. I'm just here to help you make it through your interview. So tonight, again, we're focusing solely on communication skills, and all of my wonderful, beautiful introverts out there, hopefully this will help you. And if you are an introvert, I really do hope that you do participate, because I really want to help you, get yourself out there. I'm not saying that you got to be an extrovert to be able to get it on, to make it past the interview, but you are going to have to work out your shell to master that interview. Okay. You can't be shy and be like, well, yes or no. No. So you got to be able to talk. Okay. All right. Here we go. Moving on. Put it in the chat. You already know we're going to do a little warm up. Put it in the chat. What are you? Are you an introvert or are you an extrovert? Okay. Now, if you're an introvert, that means you're a very quiet, reserved kind of person. You really prefer only to speak when spoken to. You really don't mind being to yourself kind of person. And then an extrovert is a person who is very communicative. It's kind of like a socialite, doesn't mind socializing, it's not afraid to meet new people. That kind of thing. So which one are you? Put it in the chat. Are you an introvert? Are you an extrovert, or you're not sure? Somebody saying both, okay? So would you believe me if I told you I was an introvert? Would y'all believe me? Y'all, but don't look at me like that, because right now I feel like you are judging me real hard right now. Don't do that. Like, you judging me real hard right now. I said I'm an introvert, and she was like
it's hard to believe.
Yeah, I'm not an introvert girl. But I just felt real judged right there, All right. So no, I am not an introvert. I am an extrovert, because I do not mind meeting new people. I don't mind talking in front of people. Now, I will say this. When I'm at work, I do only speak when spoken to, okay? Because I'm the kind of person, I observe a lot. So that's the thing. I observe a lot. I don't like people right away, because I observe, So my thing is that doesn't make me an introvert just because I don't talk a lot. But I'm that kind of person. Just the other day, my boss was like, hey, Renee, if you don't mind, since you know so much about business requirement documents, do you mind sharing your screen and showing the slides and actually talking about it? On the inside, I was like, no, I don't feel like it, right? But on the outside, I was like, sure, I do. I mean, right on the spot. It was not able to prepare nothing. I was just like, oh, sure. And so then I was like, oh, so we're going to talk about business requirement documents. And I just went from there. Like, I don't have a problem talking. Okay, I don't. Now, do I like to talk? No, but I will. Okay, I will talk. So I will basically deem myself as an extrovert. My thing is that I understand that a lot of my people who are introverts, this is probably something that you are struggling with, is trying to communicate, because you're saying, well, I have to get outside of my shell, and I just get real nervous when I'm talking to people. And my thing about it is that it's okay. It really, really is. You can still get a job being an introvert. Okay. But I'm seeing a lot of introverts, and I just really don't believe y'all. Like, I don't. Somebody said, Diane said, no, you were not. You don't know. Y'all be acting like y'all know me personally. It is a lot of introverts in here. Just don't believe it. I really don't believe that majority of you guys is in here. It's like almost 70-something people in here. Y'all all talking about y'all introverts. All right. Okay. That's just me getting to know y'all. Okay, perfect. All right. This is what I need you to do for me. I want you to read this sentence. Read it, love it, weep it, whatever you want to do, but read it. Need you to read it. And then I want you to count how many F's can you find. The letter F, A, B, C, D, E, F. How many F's can you find? How many F's did we find? Don't say anything. I'm going to post a poll, and I want you to tell me how many F's did you find when you read that? You ready? 17% of you guys said 3. 26% of you said 4. 14% said 5. 29% said 6. 14% said 7. Okay, the ones who said 7, y'all made that up. Okay, because it was not 7. Okay, so the answer, so who knows how many F's there were? We know it wasn't 7. How many F's were there? You can come off and mute. I don't care. How many F's did you
It
find?
was 6.
Thank you, Stephanie.
5.
6.
Some are saying 5, some are saying 6. The answer is 6. There were 6 F's. So, Stephanie, what was the 2-letter word that everybody kept missing? Of. O-F. Of. That was the word, the 2-letter word that you guys did not see. Okay, so we got 1. 1 right here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 6 F's. The one that everybody probably keeps missing is of. Wonderful. So we saw the big F's that was like in the first sentence that starts the word off of whatever, but we tend to overlook the small things, right? This is what I wanted you to see. Even though all of you guys are really, really smart, but one thing that's a great part of your communication is what basically paying attention to detail. Like, how do you expect them to communicate with someone when you can't pay attention to detail? And I'm not saying that that the people who did not choose 6 got it, saying that they're just, not intelligent or whatever. No, it's just that sometimes we tend to pretty much look over the little stuff and not knowing that it's the little things that can make the biggest difference, especially in an interview. Does it make sense? So that was just a little warm up. Listen, when this happened to me, guess what? I only chose 3, Emily. That's all I saw. All I saw was 3. Okay, that's all I saw. And after they said no, there was 6. I said, oh, child, listen, I'm going to give this to my group so that way y'all can feel the horrible pain that I felt. That's what I want y'all to feel tonight. Okay. All right. No, I'm just joking. Okay. So, but that was the thing. That was what I was getting at. Okay. The one thing is that we didn't do it right the first time. We was not as effective the first time. Okay. And it's the little things that can make the biggest difference. What we're going to talk about tonight is basically we're going to talk about anxiety management, which is pretty much nervousness and things like that. That is the biggest thing for people. We're going to talk about some ground rules. And then we're going to talk about structure, and then we're going to end the session. These 3 things, when you're talking about anxiety management, ground rules, and structures, these are the 3 things that can actually help you with your communication. Okay, this is what can actually make you effective as long as you can control your anxiety, have some ground rules, and have some structure. You can actually communicate very well in your interviews. So let's move on to the first lesson. Lesson number 1, dealing with nervousness. How many of you guys are completely and utterly nervous when it's time for an interview? Maybe you're fine like before, but maybe like an hour before we get here, then you all like, oh, Lord Jesus, I'm nervous. Like, how many of you guys are completely and utterly nervous before you get to your interview? Me too. Okay. So this job that I currently work at right now, right? I had an interview with them. Now, remind you, I hadn't worked in the field for 2 years. For 2 years, I didn't work in the field. So even though I was just applying for jobs, I was like, cool. And even though I talk to you guys and I host sessions and I talk about coming up with stories and interviews and all of this and looking up people on LinkedIn, I still too get very nervous. So this job that I'm with right now, when I had my right before I had my interview, I was very crazy nervous. So believe it or not, statistics show, and I actually looked this up, 85% of people are nervous in an interview. Okay, 85% of the people are nervous in an interview. The other 15 people, I just think they're lying, but hey, I'm joking. Maybe you're not. But my thing is that I was extremely nervous, very, very nervous. Yes, I was. So even though I had an interview with the HR lady, she asked me the typical questions. Like, what is it that you do? And who is Colaberry? And tell me a little bit about yourself. And you know, those basic stuff, like what is the price, your salary and your rate and all. Like she asked me all of that. And then after that, she was like, I think you'll be a great candidate. I would love to get you in touch with the senior and the actual hiring manager. And I was like, cool, girl, yeah, let's go and do that. Come on, let's do that right now. Come on. Right. I was down with it. So then my interview, she scheduled it like a couple of days later, and it was like at 12 noon. And I was fine until about 11 o'clock. And I realized, oh, snap, it's 11 o'clock. All right. Okay, it's 11 o'clock, right? So now I'm starting to get nervous, believe it or not. And I'm not lying to you. I literally was getting a little nervous. All right, so let's talk about it. So I'm going to give you 4 tips to help you overcome your anxiety. I'm not saying that you're going to be cured of nervousness. I'm not saying that. Please don't think that. Because basically, believe it or not, having anxiety is a good thing in a way, as long as you can manage it, not overcome it. Does that make sense? Like I'm not giving you the tips and the solutions to cure all anxiety. I'm not saying that, but I'm trying to show you a way how you can manage it. Does that make sense? Like my thing is that anxiety is a good thing because it gives you energy. It kind of keeps you excited. And so my thing is that when you have the energy and you're excited about something, especially about an interview, then it keeps you from teeter-totting between that borderline of confidence and cockiness. Whenever you feel like I don't need to study, or I don't need to prepare, I got this. That's cockiness, right? So my thing is that having anxiety is a good thing as long as you manage it. Don't allow it to overcome you. Don't allow it to take over everything about you. It's kind of like what I tell my homegirl. A man will only do to you what you allow him to do. So anxiety can only do to you what you allow it to do. Does that make sense? All right. Great girl. All right, here we go. So this is my child. Seriously, he is actually really scared because my child does get stage fright. All right. So, tip number 1, and I know some of you guys are like, really? No, greet it. Greet your anxiety. So when I got ready to go on that interview, guess what I did? I was like, okay, all right. All right, so this is my nervousness kicking in. This is my nervousness kicking in. I see it. I see it. I feel it. Okay. So you're going to take a deep breath. Take a deep breath. That's what I had to do. You know what I did? I sat there in my kitchen and I said, okay, Mika, calm down. Calm down. Okay. These people don't know you from Adam. Okay. And so my thing is that, and I have to give myself like affirmations. I'll be saying stuff like, okay, what's for me is going to be for me. And if I get the job, then okay. If I don't, then okay. I can only do the best that I can do in this particular moment. I can only prepare as much as I can prepare. That's the type of affirmations I have to give myself. But the first thing I have to do, I have to acknowledge the fact that I am actually anxious. Okay. And so now if I acknowledge it, I can control it. I can say, all right, calm down, calm down. They're just going to ask you a couple questions and I'm going to treat it like a conversation and they're just going to ask me some questions and I'm just going to answer the best that I can. But the thing about it is, everyone, again, you have to give yourself like affirmations and say stuff like, what's for me is going to be for me. Don't beat yourself up just because, saying you don't get the job. Okay. It wasn't for you. Does that make sense? Okay. So the thing is, I want you to greet the anxiety. Don't try to stuff it down in your shirt. Don't try to push it to the side. Understand that it's there. Say, okay, calm down. You got this. You know more than what you think you do. My thing is that you come this far, you got it. And even though I hadn't been in the field for 2 years, I didn't know what the heck they were going to ask me. So that was the anxiety part. And I'm going to talk about that too. But that was the anxiety part, coming in and me trying to figure out all the things that possibly could go wrong, or the possible questions they could ask me, instead of me focusing on the fact that I'm just going to be focused in the moment. And I'm going to talk about that here shortly. I'm going to go more in detail about that. But my thing is about it is, you just have to make sure you acknowledge the fact that I am anxious and I just have to breathe. Okay. All right. That was the easy one. Number 2. Be prepared. So this is my thing. In order for you to, the more prepared you are for the interview, the less anxious you will be. I'm not saying the anxiousness will go away. What I'm saying is, the more prepared you are, the less anxious you'll be. Even though it was 30 minutes before my interview started at noon, it was 11:30. I started to get anxious. But my thing about it was, before that, I pulled the interviewer's LinkedIn profiles. So I understood who John was. Sam didn't have one. But John, I understood that he was the senior rep. So now I knew exactly how technical he was. I also saw that he was a huge Texas person. I live in Dallas, Texas. What's my boyfriend house and said, hey, let me borrow your Texas Longhorn helmet real quick. And I put it in my background. So he could see that, I'm a Texas person too. Right. And so the thing about it is that when I got in the interview and everything like that, I was prepared. I was prepared for the possible questions that John could ask me based on his LinkedIn profile. The things that he currently knows, what are some typical questions that I think that he would ask me? I was prepared for what there may be to come. That's what I was preparing for. So that way, I'm not looking like a deer in headlight. Always be prepared, because the more prepared you are, the less anxious you will be. I'm not saying my anxiousness went away. I'm just saying, okay, so I got a good feeling John is going to be the one asking me most of the technical questions. Sam, I don't know, because he does not have a LinkedIn profile, right? But when I got an interview, Sam wasn't technical at all. Sam was just the hiring manager. He's on the business side of everything. So he had John come in asking me all the questions, even though I knew more than John did. Same point. So my thing about it is that I was prepared because I looked them up on LinkedIn. Don't be afraid to ask for the LinkedIns. So when you have a recruiter that's reaching out to you and said, hey, Yama, I got you set up for so and so and so, so you're going to be interviewing with Sam and John, say, okay, that's cool. Are their LinkedIn profiles included as well? And they could possibly say, oh, yeah, let me see if I can get that for you. Don't be afraid to ask that. This is my thing. I used to run track when I was in high school. Okay. I used to run track before I even got to high school. So my father put me in youth track when I was like 7 years old. I was running track when I was young. Okay. By the time I got to middle school, I was a freaking beast. And then by the time I got to high school, I was freaking unstoppable. I was going to state every single year. But it seemed like when I got to high school, my coaches kind of got like really serious about it, and they took all the joy out of it. Didn't really understand that whole point. I thought it was a game, but they was like, no, this is life. Whatever. So anyway, so I was running track my senior year. Before we had a track meet on Saturday, our coach would call us all in and we would sit down, and he says, all right, we're going to go over the stats. And he would go, Mika, Saturday in the 100 dash, we're going to be racing against Carter High School, and Carter has this person. She runs this. This is her time in the 100. This is her time in the 200. This is her time in the second leg and the sprint relay, blah, blah, blah. I was last leg. But my thing about it was he was preparing me for her. He was giving me her stat, preparing me for what's to come on Saturday's meet. Does that make sense? You're doing the same thing when it comes to the LinkedIn profile. You have to prepare yourself. That means going through their LinkedIn profile, collecting the stats of what's to come for that interview. I know some of you guys probably said, I didn't even think of it like that. I know you did. I know you did. The same thing goes for football, gentlemen, right? Most of you guys play football, and what did your coaches do? When they knew you was playing, jump, 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 jump. I'm talking to you, blue hat, John. Yeah, you, John. You like football?
Yes.
Okay. So tell me, am I right? John, football. Whenever a coach or a team is getting ready to play against another team on that Friday or whatever, what does the coach do? The coach pulls the stats of their quarterback or whoever their star player is that they're playing against, so that way they can set up a plan, right? Do they not do that?
Mm-hmm.
Right. So the coaches pull the stats of the team that they're about to play, so that way they can defeat them. But there has to be a plan. In order to get the plan, you got to pull the stats. Does it make sense? So you're going to do the same thing. Shauna, does that make sense? You have to do the same thing. Look at the LinkedIn profiles as the stats of the people that's interviewing you, so you can prepare for what's to come whenever your interview is. Does that make sense? So by the time this person is interviewing you, you should know what their interest is. You should know whether or not they are a senior. You should know how long they've been there and that kind of thing. Find ways to connect with them. When John got in that interview, he saw that I had my little Texas Longhorn, and he was like, oh, got Texas Longhorn too. I was like, I already know that. That's what I said to myself. But I was like, yeah, I'm a Texas fan. I don't give a crap about Texas Longhorn. But that was my way of interacting with the person that was interviewing me. Does that make sense? And then we got to talking and yada 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 and shooting. And guess what? I got an offer on the very first freaking interview. That was the first company that I interviewed with, and they gave me an offer. And I took it because I was tired of interviewing, even though I had only been on one. But one was too many, right? But the first time I interviewed back in 2016, no, I went on a couple of interviews before I got a job, before I got an offer. So my thing is that you got to make sure that you treat those LinkedIn profiles as stats. So don't be afraid to ask that recruiter or that HR person for that person who's interviewing you. So that if they say, hey, Shauna, you're going to be interviewing with Sam at 2:00. Perfect. Would you happen to have their LinkedIn profile as well so that way I can prepare for this interview? All they can do is say yes or no. If they say no, then say, well, no. Just say it's okay, right? And then you can try to see if you can pull it yourself. But you're willing to give up your LinkedIn profile on your resume, so why should you not have their LinkedIn? Does that make sense? All right. Create stories for each job on your resume or each section of your project if you only have one job listed. Okay, I've said this before. I'm not going to go really too deep in detail about that because I talked about this in the last session, in the last workshop. If you missed that last workshop where I'm going full detail about creating stories and things like that, the link for the description will be down below, or I will have Ron post that link there for you up above. He told me to point, so I'm pointing. So, so it'll be available for you either right here, Ron, or right here, one of the two. So he'll post it for you either way. And then, or we can also place it in the description box. So if you did miss it, it is in the description box, or we can post it for you right here. Okay. All right. So with that being said, I'm not going to go into detail about it, but you do want to actually create stories about your resume. Okay. You want to talk about, like, if you have more than one job, like I did on my resume, if someone brought up SSIS, ETL, or data warehouse, I knew immediately I was going to talk about this job. I was going to bring up Wells Fargo. If you're talking to me about Power BI, SSRS, or any type of reporting, then I'm going to talk about this job. If someone's talking to me about SQL, then I can talk about all jobs or just one in particular. This was my way of making sure that I stayed prepared on what's to come based on whatever type of questions they may ask me. I already know, okay, so when I was working for Wells Fargo, I already knew that I was going to talk about that. Another thing is, these are the things I also talked about in the last workshop as well. So I'm not going to go too much into detail about it, but already have answers for the most common questions. In the workshop that we had the last time, back in January, I actually gave you a list of common questions that were asked based on some of them based on your tier 2, so SQL questions, SSIS questions, Power BI questions, that kind of thing. Okay, but the basic ones is, who is Colaberry? You should not be stumbling over who the heck Colaberry is. Okay, you should not stumble over that. Why are you looking to leave? You should not be stumbling over that. Whatever you do, please don't say, oh, more money. Please don't say that. Okay. Tell me about yourself. I'm in the launch. Everyone who's came through the launch, you pretty much got a format on how to create your Tell Me About Yourself story. It is just a template. You can change it up however you want. I gave you a template to follow. So if you want to shorten it, if you want to make it longer, if you want to take away, if you want to add to it, you can. But the people who came through the launch, we gave you a template and you created your Tell Me About Yourself story. Now make it your own. So you should not be stumbling over Tell Me About Yourself story. And another thing is that it should be memorized. And then what is your salary/rate? I talked about it in the last workshop, exactly how you can do your salary and your rate, where I talk about based on where you're located and how you can look it up and based on the company and things like that. So you should know what your salary is. You should know what your rate. You cannot go to a company that has only 50,000 employees expecting the same pay rate that Google would give you, who have over 100,000, maybe even 200,000 employees. Does that make sense? Their budget at Google may be different from a startup company. So you can't say, well, they're only offering me 80,000. Well, they probably don't have the budget to pay someone 150,000 like Google would. Does that make sense? So that stuff is important. You have to know, especially when you're reaching out to a Fortune 500 company, they can have the budget to pay you $150,000. But a company that ain't even a hundred Fortune company, they probably don't have the budget to pay $150 per person. Does that make sense? So you got to make sure you play into that. So again, that video is going to be listed in the description below. But just be prepared. These common questions you should already know. You should already have stories created based on certain parts of your job, certain parts of your project or your job. Now, let me go back to that real quick. If you only have one job, so say you only have Colaberry listed on your resume, and you only have just your project, then take parts of your project and break it up into different factors. So maybe once they start talking to you about Power BI, then you can talk about the full project. If they're talking about certain parts of DAX, most of you guys who have projects, you guys have dashboards. You guys have about 4 or 5 reports on this one dashboard. You mean to tell me that you guys cannot take one report off of that dashboard and create a story? You can do that. Okay. So for me, all I had was the mortgage project. That was all I had when I came through here. Okay. So whenever we're talking, if somebody asks me questions about working with a business analyst and agile and waterfall, well, I could have that information because all of that was given to me before the mortgage project. If some questions came up about SSIS, and I was talk about stories 1 through 6 when it came down to the mortgage project. If any questions came up about reporting, then I talked about stories 7 through 10, which was all about the reporting part of the mortgage project. And that was just my way of being able to do that. So you're going to have to break down either your project or give each one of your jobs that you have listed on your resume a different story. You know, I say this a lot, Stephanie, you know, I say this a lot, girlfriend. What do I always say? Make it conversational. You never treat your interview like it's an interrogation. Always make it conversational. Make it conversational. Use questions. So anytime they ask you a question you don't really know how to answer it to the best of your ability, but then turn around and ask them a question by putting the ball back into their court. So if they came to you and say, Stephanie, do you have experience working with SSAS or anything? Now, you know, daggone well, you probably did SSAS since the mortgage project, okay? So you can probably say, you know, with SSAS, I've had the opportunity to dabble with it. Now, currently in my position right now, I actually do not engage in SSAS at this moment, but I do know of it. Now, once I start working here, is that something that I will be doing here? Put the ball back into their court. Get them to talk. That way it gives you time to get your thoughts, okay? But it's okay if you don't have the experience. Don't say, no, I don't have experience working with SSAs. Okay, don't be the problem. Always offer a solution, okay? And then use conversational language. Allow your personality to shine. I say this a lot too, don't I, Stephanie? Allow your personality to shine. That's the extrovert in me. I don't ever answer a question straight out. I always allow my personality to shine. Stephanie can ask me today, Mika, what's the weather like out there? Well, child, let me tell you a story. Now, here lately, it's been all right. But sometimes it gets a little chilly. And so right now, I actually have a heater that's under my desk. So when I am cold and my feet cold, because I'm the kind of person, like when my feet get cold, my whole body cold. It doesn't matter if it's 80 degrees. If my feet cold, I'm cold, right? But right now, the temperature is da-da-da-da-da. Then I went into the question, but I always allow my personality to shine. Always. If someone wants to say, tell me about your day-to-day, what does your day-to-day look like? I'm always going to allow my personality to shine. I'm going to say, oh, now there are days where I can just have a cool, breezy day. And then there are some days where I just got meetings back to back and it's just very hectic, right? But technically, but if you're just asking about a typical day, I'm coming in and I'm checking my email. You see how I'm saying in the beginning, some days it's okay. And then some days that is just me. I'm a very conversational person. That is my way of showing that's my way of allowing personality to shine and actually giving me the opportunity to babble a little bit so I can get my thoughts together on what I'm going to say. Okay, especially when you don't really know what you're going to say, because sometimes they can ask you a question you don't have the slightest clue, and so you got to try to figure it out, because it could be some by the time where you and a person did get along. Okay, I wasn't expecting that question. And what I don't want you to do is go, and the one thing I hate, China, the one thing I hate. Oh, that's a good question. I hate that with a passion. Y'all know you laughing, but girl, that's a pet peeve. I can't stand when people say, "Oh, that's a good question." So yeah, so my thing is that make it conversational. And so anytime you're thrown off guard or anything, try to not babble, but try to create conversations so that way you can gather your thoughts and then go into things. Right? That takes practice. And I can actually have a workshop on that, on how to flow into things. That's going to be another day for another, because that takes time. That right there takes practice, and it really does. It takes practice. But my mother would tell you in a heartbeat, I've always been a person who can come up with stories. So that was never a problem for me. But for some people, it is something you have to work in. Last but not least, be present oriented. This is the most important. Be present oriented. Like, I cannot express that enough. So this is the thing. This is the one thing that messes us up in interviews. We're so focused on messing up. We're so focused on what could possibly go wrong. What questions are they going to ask me? That you can know 100 things, but it could be one thing that you're so focused on, oh my God, what if they ask me something I don't know? You know 50 other things. You're worried about something that possibly could or could not happen. And that would overrule the entire interview. And that's what makes you nervous, because you're unsure of the potential questions that could be asked. Instead of being present in the moment, you're so focused on, well, what if I mess up? Or what if they ask me something I don't know? Or what if they find out? Or what if they say that, what if I tell them I have 5 years, but I really don't? And then you start spiraling out of control. Does that make sense? And a lot of you guys are smiling right now because you know I'm telling the truth. A lot of you guys are saying, yeah, that is true. Because that's what we do. We spiral out of, we start with one thing, and the next thing you know, but what if they ask, oh, but then what if they say this? What if they want me to share my project? And then they start asking me questions about my project. So then maybe I should not show my project. But they told me they wanted me to show a project. What? The next thing you know, here comes the emails to me. Mika, is it okay that if I just share the PowerPoint presentation instead? Like, that's when the question starts coming to me. Because now you done spiraled yourself out of control. You see what I'm saying? So here I am, I'm trying to save you. Okay. So this is what I want you to do. I want you to do something that will get your mind off what's to come. That's what I want you to do. When you start spiraling out of control, and normally this happens probably a day before, or it could be minutes before the interview. Because after you done greeted the anxiety and all of that, and it's probably like 5 minutes, and now you're probably like, oh, slap. Okay, no, I'm nervous for real. Like, oh Lord, I'm nervous for real. Okay, calm down. Like, it's okay. Stop, because the reason why you're starting to spiral now is because now you're starting to think about, what if they ask me something I don't know? What if they say, oh, Colaberry is a school, it's not really a company, and things like that? And but what if they ask me who is Colaberry and I don't really know how to answer? Oh my God, and then they're gonna find out I'm a fake or a fraud. Now you're spiraling. Get up, baby. Get up. Okay, stop spiraling. All right. It's kind of like being in a 1 foot puddle of water and you're like, I'm drowning. Boo boo, stand up. Stand up. Okay, you'll stop drowning. All righty. So let's play a game. Let's play a game. So we're gonna play a game, and that's gonna teach you how to be present oriented, how to be in the moment. Okay. I'm going to pick on 3 people, and then I want you to take yourself off of mute, because you're going to have to speak. And now, right now, look, half of y'all just turned your cameras off, and then the other half just got real excited. He was like, oh Lord, see, now y'all just got nervous. See, we just talked about anxiety, and y'all already tripping. Y'all already showing me your anxiety. Okay. All right. So John, I'm gonna call on you because I called your name earlier. So I'm gonna call on you, John. So John, take yourself off of mute. Ronald, take yourself off of mute for me. And Edna, take yourself off of mute. Okay. I'm going to ask you to repeat after me. I want you to say it loud. Okay. I don't want you to shout it, but I want you to say it loud enough for me to hear it. You don't worry about it. It's only 3 phrases. That's all. It's just 3 phrases. Don't worry about it. I'm just going to ask you to repeat after me. Okay. Now, you have to understand and listen to what I am saying, because if you say it wrong, you're going to say a bad word. Okay. All righty. You ready? Okay. I slit a sheet.
I slit a sheet.
Okay. A sheet I slit.
A sheet
I slit.
And on a slitted sheet I sit.
And
And
on a
on
slit sheet I sit.
I sit.
Good job. So there were no shits. Good job. Good job. Good job. All righty. You put yourself back on mute. Good job. You did good job. All right. So this is my question. What did that exercise prove to you? What did you not prove to you, but what did it make you have to do? What did that exercise make you have to do? Anybody can answer. What did that exercise make you have to do?
Listen attentively.
Mm-hmm.
And be conscious of what you're saying.
Exactly. So amazing that you're saying conscious of what you're saying and listening, because guess what? They were present in the moment. They were not focused on, okay, all these people are looking at me. I don't know. No, you weren't focused on that. You guys were so focused on making sure that you said it right and trying to also see what the bad word was going to be. But you were present in the moment. Does that make sense? So that's the same way you have to be when you're in those interviews. You got to be present. Stop focusing on what's to come and just be present. And you'll do a whole lot better. Don't think about the questions that possibly could be asked, or what if something goes wrong, or whatever. You guys took the time to focus and listen to what the interviewer was saying. Okay? And it made you present in that moment. And yes, you might have been saying, okay, I got to make sure I say this right so I don't say shit or whatever the cuss word was, right? Because you guys were just so focused and present that you was not concerned about who was watching you, who was listening. You were just paying attention to what I was saying, and you were present. Okay? Thank you so much for your participation. Yay! Thank you. Thank you. So let's talk about some ground rules, okay? So the ground rules that we're going to do, I'm going to give you, how many do I have? 1, 2, and 3. We're going to talk about some ground rules that would help you with your communications when it comes to interviews, okay? If you follow these ground rules, it'll help you out tremendously. Does that make sense? Listen, I didn't become the stellar speaker that I am just, going with the flow, I have to have some ground rules. But I'm the kind of person that whenever I speak, I like to talk and then throw a little humor in. Even when I'm in interviews. So when I talk, I throw a little humor in. I cannot stand dull presentations. Like, it puts me to sleep, right? So we're going to talk about some ground rules that you can follow to help you to be a great communicator when it comes to your interviews. So let's get started. The first one, number 1, you have to get out of your own way. Did you know, Yama, that we can be our biggest critic? Did you know that? We could be our biggest critic. So I have a neighbor that's across the street, and she was in her closet, and she was trying to figure out what she wanted to wear, and immediately she just starts crying. And I was like, what the hell is wrong with you? Because I'm sitting in the living room like, girl, we're going to be late for brunch. I'm waiting on you. And I go in the closet, and she's sitting on the floor, and she's crying. And I said, Angela, what is wrong with you, girl? What's wrong? Now, everybody knows I'm not a very empathetic person, but I'm trying to be. I said, what's wrong, girl? And so she was just like, I'm fat and I'm just disgusted. I don't have anything to wear. And I was like, girl, and she's not fat. You know how people, you know how your girlfriends, they could be a little big bone, but she was like, you ain't fat. Oh, no, literally, she's not fat. Like, she's not. Like, she weighs like maybe 140. Talking about, oh, fat. Girl, do you know how much I weigh? Come on. So I was like, so that's our thing. We can get in our very own way when it comes to interviews and communicating as well. Because you know how we can get in our way? Because the thing about it is we always want to be perfect. we feel like we have to know everything, and you don't. You don't have to know everything. You're not going to know everything when you get into that interview. You're not. So you're just going to have to get yourself out of your own way. And you have, I talked about this last time, I'm talking about analysis paralysis, where you feel like you have to read every single book and do every single thing before you go to that interview. Okay? And that's us tripping over our own selves. We get our own self in a way because we feel like we have to be perfect and that we got to know every single answer that they're going to ask us. And you know what? You know, the biggest thing that I get, Mika, hey, okay, so I'm writing this email because, you know, I want to take some time from, you know, interviewing and applying for jobs because I just feel like I just need to study a little bit more. That's the biggest one I get every time. And I'm just like, well, sweetheart, when do you think you're going to be ready? Like my thing about it is, do you think I was ready in 2016? Did I know everything? No. What I did, I learned from interviews. If they could ask me a question I didn't know, I wrote it down and I made sure that I didn't miss it the next time. I learned so much through interviews. So my thing about it is that we tend to get in our own way because we feel like we have to know everything and everything has to be perfect in order for that to work. Time for a game. Yay. All right, I'm going to pick two people, but one person's going to go at a time. So, Shina, I'm going to pick you first. Okay. Paramala, is that how you pronounce it?
Yes, you're right. It's Parimala.
Yes. Okay. So, you're going to go second. Okay.
Okay.
All right. So, Shina, you're going to go first. And the way this goes. Okay. I am going to post something onto the screen. You only have like 1 second to answer tell me what it is not. Okay. And right now, Shina, you probably already trying to get stuff in your mind of what it's not going to be. Okay. But don't do that. That's your brain going into overload mind or overanalyzing. Okay. You don't even know what's to come. The moment I post a question, you have to immediately answer it. The moment I post a question, answer. The moment I post a question, answer. Okay.
Okay.
The moment I post a question, answer. Got it? You can't think, you can't stop, you can't do none of that. The moment I post a question, answer. Okay? You ready?
I'm not, but yeah.
Ready?
Okay.
What is it not?
Okay. What is it not? Bike.
Why did you have to think? What is it not? Don't repeat, just answer. Okay? Ready?
Okay.
What is it not?
Cat.
What is it not? That is your mind trying to tell you that it's water. It's your mind is saying that it's water. It's a glass of water. But I just told you, tell me what it's not.
Okay.
So it's amazing how I'm sitting here telling you to think the opposite of what your brain is doing, because this is what we tend to do. We tend to overanalyze. We want to pretty much tell you, I know this is water. I know, but that's not what I asked you. The question I asked you, what was it not? Okay. And one more time. What is it not?
Mika.
Good job. Good job. Good job. Good job. All right. All righty. So let's discuss this real quick. What is it that we notice about Shina? Whenever I post a question, what did we notice about her? Anybody take it off mute. What did we notice?
She thinks before she talks. And you had said just talk, don't think.
Right. I'm telling you to talk, don't think, because we tend to overanalyze things. So the very first question that I posed was a car, but she had to say it. It was like, what is it not? Oh, bike, right? This is what we do. We focus so hardly on making sure that we do it right. That's what we do. We focus so hard on, oh, it's got to be right. It's got to be this. But when I tell you to do something the opposite of it, it's hard for you to not do it because you're so focused on doing it right. Does that make sense? You guys are so focused on doing what is right. It's got to be right. I got to do it this way. I have to do it. You guys are so focused on that. I got to make sure I don't mess up. I don't want to mess up. It's got to be right. But when I told your brain to do the total opposite, it was hard for you to do that. All right. Thank you, Shina. I appreciate it. Okay. Ramala, you're next. Okay. We're going to do it again. Okay. Ready? And you're already ready. You had already seen her do it. Okay. All right. So here we go. This time, Paramala, I may ask you to tell me what it is not or what it is, but you got to tell me immediately. Okay.
Okay, I'll try.
Really well. Okay. Ready?
Mm-hmm.
What is it not?
Flight.
What is it?
Buffalo. Oh, sorry, dog.
Okay, I'm gonna stop you right there. She proved my point. So another thing that she was doing is that she was already setting herself up with what she was going to say on the next slide. She was not present in the moment. I saw China do it already. I already know what to expect, right? I already know what to expect. So this goes back to this. You guys go on these interviews, right? And we post questions in the chat about questions that was asked of me and things asked of you and things like that, right? And I tell you to look at these questions or whatever, but you never know, just because they gave you saw it, you saw the questions in advance or whatever, does not mean that they're probably going to ask you the same way. I just told you to tell me what it was, and you said a buffalo. Okay?
Yeah,
Because you had already seen China, so of course I was going to switch it up. But this is another thing. Did I not just say, I may ask you what it is, or I may ask you what it's not? I literally said that, but you were so focused on me asking you what it was not, that you was not paying attention that I said, what is it? You got to be present in the moment. Okay?
Yeah.
All righty. You actually, I thought we was going to get through a few slides, but you actually proved my point just on the second slide. So we're done. Thank you. Thank you, Paramala.
Thank you.
This is my thing. We tend to overanalyze, like I said, we tend to overanalyze everything because we get in our own way because we feel like everything has to be right. And then the moment we ask you to do something, and I just asked you, and I just wanted you to see that because you're programmed to think that I have to know it. It has to be perfect. It has to be right. I gotta know it. I cannot mess up. That's what you're focused on. That is what your brain is saying. I cannot mess up. When I go on this interview, I gotta make sure I don't mess up. I gotta get an offer. I gotta make sure I say the right stuff. That sometimes if I ask you to do something out of the ordinary or something totally different, you can't do it because your brain is not programmed that way. Number two, change how you see the situation. So the first thing is that we tend to get in our own way, but the second thing is you got to change how you see the situation. Okay. So like I told you, don't look at it as this is an interrogation. You got to look at it as a conversation. Change how you see the interview. Does that make sense? Change how you see the interview. That'll also help with anxiety if you change how you see the interview. Okay, we need to see that every interview is an opportunity rather than a challenge or a threat. Because whenever you're faced with a challenge or a threat, immediately walls go up. Okay? Walls go up. Have you ever met someone that you just, like you really don't care for them too much? So every time you get around them, your whole attitude changes, right? Like you really don't care for somebody, and you just be like, and so when they speak to you, they be like, hey, Stephanie. You like, hey. Because your walls is up, your guard is up, like you just, But if you change the way you see the situation, I'm the kind of person, if I don't like somebody, I'm gonna make you uncomfortable, not me. That's just the way I look at it. I'm gonna make you uncomfortable because I refuse not to have a good time. I did not just spend $7 on this drink to be sad. Right? So my thing about it is I want you to change how you see the situation, change how you see the interview. Don't look at it as an interrogation. Take every interview as an opportunity to learn. Even if I don't know something, take the opportunity to learn. I remember Rashida, right before she got her offer, she came to me and she said, hey, is it okay that I don't apply for a Power BI position, but I actually apply for SQL? Absolutely. Girl, yes. Change how you see it. Like, don't think she was like, well, it's very saturated and I just really want to go over this way. And guess what? She got a job as a SQL developer, who are the second highest paid people in the field. You see what I'm saying? So my thing about it is that she decided to just switch it up. We're going to change it up a little bit, right? So take every opportunity. Take every interview as an opportunity and not as a threat or a challenge, because whenever you're faced with challenges or threats, you tend to put your walls up. And that's when you start answering yes or no questions, or you're ready for this interview to be over. And then when they ask you, do you have any questions for us? You're like, no, because I'm ready for this interview to be over. So I would encourage you to make sure that you change your approach when it comes to interviews. Stop being so afraid of interview, like they're gonna come out and attack you or something. It's not like that. They're just trying to figure out what the heck you know to see if you can help them. Look at it that way. I'm going in here and I'm speaking to somebody who don't know me. I don't know them. So if I mess up on this interview, we ain't gonna never see each other again a day in our life. So it's okay. That's my way of getting around it. I ain't gonna never see you again day in my life, so it don't really matter. Right. But this is my thing. My thing is I have to look at the interview as they're coming to me because they saw something in my resume that felt like I could actually help them. So what we're gonna do is sit down and have a conversation and see what I see, and they're gonna ask me questions to see whether or not if I can help them. That's how I look at it. It's not an interview. They're just asking me questions to see if I can help them. It's kind of like me saying, hey, Hermala, I gotta ask you a question now. So okay, this is my thing. I got this thing that I'm trying to do. And I'm trying to create this Power BI report, but I'm not really sure exactly how to. And then what you're going to say is, oh, okay, yeah, all I need to do is do such, such, such. It's just me asking you, what do you know to see if you can help me? Then I could probably be like, okay, great. I'm so glad you know it. Can you come help me, please? That's all it is. They're asking you, can you help them? That is it. Change how you see the interview. It is not them interrogating you. It is them trying to see, can you help them? Okay. All right. So don't look at it as me versus them. Okay. It is an opportunity. All right. So, all right. I had this big old smile on her face. She's like, oh, Lord. All right. Let me see. Who haven't I called on? Berkowitz, I want to call on you. So I'm going to choose Malika and Berkowitz. So I'm going to take myself off of, and let me explain to you how this exercise is going to go. All right. I see Berkowitz. There she is down at the bottom. Okay. So Berkowitz and then Malika's up here. So, okay, good. All right. Here we go. The way this goes. We're going to play the imaginary gift game. Okay. This is how it goes. Berkowitz, you're going to give Malika a box. You're going to actually say, here you go, Malika. So I want you to practice that. So here you go. Here you go. There you go. Yeah. Here you go. Here's your box. And Malika, you're going to receive the box. So yes, you're going to receive the box. And then Malika, you're going to open the box. Okay. And you're going to look inside the box. And then you're going to say, oh my God, thank you, Berkowitz. I got, and tell her what you got. And it's going to be a surprise, Berkowitz, because she don't know what the hell she gave you either. Okay. Because you can say whatever. You can say, you got me a Lamborghini. You can say whatever you want to say. Okay. You can say, oh my God, you got me frog legs. Whatever. Whatever's inside the box, you have to tell her, thank you. You got me XYZ. And then Berkowitz, you're going to say, I'm so glad you like it. I knew you liked it because, and then tell me the reason why. Tell me the reason why you thought she was going to like frog legs or whatever it is you choose. It could be a really heavy box. It could be a really light box, whatever. Okay. And then we're going to swap. And then Malika, you're going to give her a gift. And then she's going to thank you. And then you're going to say, Malika, Berkowitz, I knew you liked this because of XYZ. Does it make sense? All right, we ready? So Berkowitz, take yourself off of mute. Malika, take yourself off of mute. And are we ready?
Yeah.
All right. Berkowitz, say, Malika, I got you a gift. And then give her a gift. Go.
Hi, Malika. I got you a gift. Here you go.
Thank you. Oh, you got me tickets for a vacation. Thank you.
I know, Malika, you like it because last time you were talking about you want to go to visit that place. That's why I just want to surprise you with it.
Thank you. It was a perfect gift.
Good job. All righty. Good job. Good job. Good job. Good job. All righty. Now, this is the thing. So what we had to learn here was the fact that Berkowitz had no clue what Malika was going to say. So she was very attuned to see what the heck she was going to say. She had no clue what she was going to say because guess what you could not do, Berkowitz? You could not prepare your answer of what to say because you didn't know what she was going to say. So guess what you had to do? You had to answer it on the fly. Okay? That's what you learned here, okay? So the thing about it was is that you changed the way you looked at the interview. You changed the way this was going to go because my thing is that whenever you're not looking at it as, okay, I don't know what this helper's gonna say, and I don't know if, like you went into it with an open mind, even though you didn't have a clue on what she was gonna say, but you went in with an open mind. Okay, you were just saying, I'm just gonna roll with the punches. And that's what you do. That's how you do. That's how you change how you're looking at the interview. You change it by saying, I don't know what they're gonna ask me, but I'm just gonna roll with the punches. Okay, that's what you had to learn here. You could not prepare your answer because you had no clue she was gonna say tickets to a daggone vacation. All righty. So here we go. Now, this is the crazy thing. Malika, now you can't prepare your answers because you have no clue what Berkowitz is going to say. Right? So guess what? You have to give your answer on the fly. You ready? Take yourself off of mute, ladies.
Yeah.
Malika, give your gift to Berkowitz.
Hey, Berkowitz, I got a present for you.
Oh, thank you, Malika. Oh, wow, my goodness. You brought me those chocolates? Thank you. I liked them so much. Thank
What was
you.
it? I'm sorry, I didn't get it.
Chocolates.
Oh, yeah, I knew that you liked them. So I was at the store and I saw them and I just thought about you.
Thank you. Thank you. I like it.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Good job. All right. Now, you both ladies, tell me, I want to hear from both of you. How hard was it for you to come up with something you had no clue what they was going to ask you?
To be honest, it was not that hard. I was thinking before that, like,
Okay.
it was good.
Okay, what about you, Berkowitz?
Yeah, I mean, it was good. It was not that much hard. Yeah, maybe the answers that we picked for a gift, or probably we are thinking this kind of gifts might get this, like that, or because you told us we have to give answer based on what we do not know. That was a clue, kind of.
Okay.
Yeah,
Good.
thank you.
Stephanie, what did you learn from this? What did you learn from just this part? What did you learn from this exercise?
Think outside of the box, be prepared. Anything, the question could come in any form. Just prepare your mind and be opened.
Eduardo, what did you
Yes.
learn from this exercise?
That you have to be prepared to, pay attention, listen carefully, and be prepared to whatever they throw at you.
So this is all different forms of communication. I know you're probably saying, well, this is not the communication I was thinking. No, I'm trying to give you ways to think different, because there's different factors when it comes to communication, okay? But my thing about it is that you got to understand, in order for you to be able to communicate, you have to get yourself out of the way, right? In order for you to be able to communicate, you have to be able to listen and to take things slow and to change how you see the interview. That's going to be a way for you to be able to communicate better if you look at the interview a different way versus going in as, oh, they can ask me something I don't know. Like, you got to be prepared. So this may not be your typical communication type thing. No, it's not that, because there's different ways to make sure that you got these are ground rules for you to follow, so that way you can communicate effectively. Okay. All righty. Let's share that beautiful bean footage again. Slow down and listen. That is a huge part of communication. You cannot listen if you do not slow down. You don't hear me. You cannot listen. You got to slow down. This is my thing. We go to interviews, and the thing about it is the people are asking a question. And before they can even finish the question, you already got some answer in your mind on how you're going to answer. You've already coming up with a way on what story you're going to tell. You already have a way of what you finna say. And sometimes we tend to cut the interviewer off because we're so eager to answer. And the fact that we didn't allow them to finish the entire question, because we stopped listening to them. We hear them, but we stopped listening because we're now just trying to focus on, okay, how can I answer that question? That's what we do. That's what we do. We tend to do that. We tend to listen to the interviewer as they're talking and then immediately cut them off, listening wise, and start figuring out a way on how I'm going to answer that question. So this is my thing. If I turn around and say, So tell me about a time where you and a coworker were not getting along, and before I can even say, how did you resolve it? You're already started thinking in your brain, how am I going to answer that question? Or come up with a story or whatever. You have stopped listening. You did not listen fully to the entire question because your brain is already starting to concoct a story or a way to answer the question. That is not effective communication because you cannot communicate with people if you're not listening. Does that make sense? Listening and communication goes hand in hand. You cannot communicate with me if you're not listening. My son will say something and I say, well, I'll say something, so, and he goes, Mother, I hear you. But was you listening? That's what I tell him. That's what I ask. Were you listening? You hear me, but was you listening? It's a difference. Okay. So in this situation, we're going to need to slow down and listen. I told you I was going to be a lot of exercise. Okay. I'm going to pick a couple of people to help me with this one. Yes. Okay. And this is what we're going to do. So I'm going to collect two people. You're going to go one, you're going to talk to each other. We're going to take my screen off. And we're going to do this exercise. And the two people, one person is going to SPELLINGTHINGTOYOURPARTNER. What did I say? Does anybody know what I said?
Spell everything to your partner.
Who said that? Who said that?
Betty.
Betty. Okay. Betty was the only one who was actually listening to what I said. So, Betty, since you're so great at this, we're going to let you go and Yama go. And Yama, Betty, can you take a step? Can I see your face? Can I see your beautiful face, please? Because she can't really, pay attention to you. She can't see you.
I got you.
Oh, love the hair though.
Thank you.
Yes. Girl, I wish I had that, but I don't. Because I got that, I got to put that creamy crack on there sometimes, girl. Okay.
But
All right, anyway.
good. Okay.
Girl, so slick down, okay? All right, so listen, okay? So, Yama and Betty, you two are going to tell each other what are you planning to do for fun this weekend, but you can only spell it. Okay? Now, it's okay if you ain't great spellers. It's okay because there's going to be a lesson to the person who is spelling, and there's going to be a lesson to the person who is trying to determine what the other person is spelling. Okay? And then Yama, you're going to turn around once you get done, tell her what it is that she's going to do for fun. You got to don't keep it too long. Okay? Like mine was just spelling everything to your partner, something like that. So it could be going to the beach or going to a birthday party, whatever. Don't spell to Yama, Betty. A whole daggone paragraph. It's gonna be like, wait, start over. Right now, Yama, you can ask her to start over, but you only get one time. You can only ask her one time to start over. So you better use that little card wisely. Okay. All righty. So the thing is that Betty, you're going to tell Yama what it is that you're planning to do for fun this weekend, but you can only spell it. And again, I'm going to ask the group to tell me what lesson was Betty supposed to learn with her spelling it, and then what lesson was Yama supposed to learn from receiving the spelling. Okay? This all goes back to communication. Are we ready? Betty, you are first. Tell Yama, so you're going to say, Yama, I plan to spell.
All right.
Okay? Go.
Yama, you here? All right.
I'm here.
All right. So, Yama, this weekend, I'm going to HANGOUTWITHMYFRIENDS.
Can you repeat?
What
I
did
only
she
heard the
spell?
first word. I heard hang out.
One more time.
Yeah, one more time.
Okay.
Going to hang out
HANGOUTFRIENDS.
with your friends.
Yes, let's go.
Good, good. So she's going to hang out with her friends. Okay. So let me see. Ronald. Okay, thank you. Okay, Ronald, what was the lesson that Betty had to learn from this?
Betty had to really process exactly what needed to be said in short phrases. It had to be clear and concise and not drawn out, because she would have been spelling forever.
Good job. That is absolutely correct. Absolutely. So Betty had to learn how to process, think about what she was going to say, even though she was trying to figure out, wait, friends, like, like, right? But the key is, not only did we just learn that Betty's not a great speller. No, I'm joking. I'm joking. No, what I'm saying is that what we learned in this fact is that you have to process what you're going to say before you say it. So that means she had to actually take different pauses to slow down, so that way she can get her answer out and she can get it across to her person, her interviewer. So at this time, Yama was her interviewer. So what Betty was trying to say or spell out, she had to process it. She had to take time to slow down and just say it. And if that means taking pauses, then do that. Does that make sense? Sometimes we get asked questions in interviews and we're just like, yeah, so I do da, 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 da. We just speak like 1,000 miles an hour, and then we tend to stumble over our words because we're speaking so fast. But if you take the time to just stop, process what it is that she said or the interviewer said, and then actually say it. Now I can just literally say it. Okay. All righty. Rajni, what was the lesson that Yama had to learn in this situation?
Listen carefully before even saying anything. And I would say it's just been third week of my job. That's the only key we have to learn. Listen and then process.
Exactly.
That's the only key, whether you are in interview or you are in job. That's the only key I realized.
Exactly. So Yama, what did you have to do? You really had to listen to every single word, letter she was spelling. You had to literally. So I talked about this earlier. What were you? I talked about this earlier, a couple of slides back. What did I say that you had to be? Anybody know? What did you have to be? I said it a couple of slides back.
Present.
That's it. Yeah, yes, girl. You got to be present. And that's exactly what you were, Yama. You were not focused on you saying it wrong. Your whole focus was, I want to hear what it is that she's saying or spelling, so I can process it and be able to say, oh, okay, hanging out with friends. Like now, because you heard the whole thing. You did not interrupt her. You was not trying to figure out what you were going to say. You were listening to every single letter so you could say it. So that way you can process it and then say what you had to say. Okay, that was the lesson you learned. Now, it's only polite if you just return the favor. Okay, all right. So we're going to do this one more time. Yama and Betty. Okay, now that we learned the lesson, this is just for fun. So Yama.
Yeah.
Go ahead and tell Betty, what do you plan to do for fun this weekend? Go.
Hey, Barry, guess what I've planned for the weekend?
What you got going on?
Okay. I'm taking my SONTODISNEYWORLD
Okay, she's taking her son to Disney World. Let's go.
It's a long
Good
sentence.
job.
I'm gonna spell the whole thing.
All right. I'm hoping that really does make sense to you guys. Okay. The thing is part of communication, you have to listen and you have to be able to process it. And so my thing is that before you just start strategizing and coming up with ways on how to answer the question, listen to the entire question, process it, and then take the time to answer it. All right, we're moving on to the very last one, and then we're coming to a close, guys. So let me share my beautiful bean footage. Tell a story. It's story time. It's story time. All righty. So this is my thing. So we talked about earlier. So we talked about the ground rules, which was get out of your own way, change how you see the situation, and then the last but not least, slow down and listen. But then this very last but not least, this one is last but not least. How do we respond? Okay, that's going to be the thing. How do we respond? Like now that we have slowed down, listened, now we're going to figure out how do we respond to that answer. Okay, and the way we're going to be able to respond to that answer, which is actually one of my favorites, is we're going to tell a story. Yay, right? Okay. I know you probably said, God, no, we just had an exercise. I know, but I'm a person who just, All righty. Let's see. So this is my thing before we get into the exercise. Now, so it's all about how we tell a story, and with every story comes a structure. Okay, every story has a structure. They're just like tell about yourself story. You had a format, you had a structure on how you're going to do things. So do you remember back in the day when we had to call people, we had to memorize phone numbers? Do any of you guys remember that, or you guys were born with cell phones in your hands? Okay, so back in the day, we had phone books or we had to memorize people's phone numbers, right? Nowadays, kids just got cell phones. They just see a picture and they just said, seeing, and then the other person just starts talking on the other end of the phone, right? My son, I said, well, I don't know, babe. We probably have to look in a phone book. I said, do you know what a phone book is? And he was like, a book that has phones in it? Okay. Yeah, that's it. That's what it is. So this is my thing. He's only 13. So he was born with a phone in his hand. So listen, the thing about it is back in the day, we did not, or I did. I'm in 80s. I was born in 81. So don't be trying to judge me. Yes, I'm 41. So don't judge me, okay? But I was born in 81. And back in the day, like I don't even think I got my cell phone. I don't even think I got a cell phone until I got to high school. Okay. My son been having a phone since he was in elementary, but that's it. But my thing about it is that we had to memorize phone numbers or we had to look it up in the phone book. Okay. And don't let somebody be unlisted. Then I got to make sure I know somebody's phone. Right. So my thing is, how did we learn a 10-digit phone number? How? What's a structure? 3, 3, 4. It was a structure. 214 334 8894. That's my phone number. 3, 3, 4. You learned the structure. That's how you remembered it. 40% of people, and I looked this up, 40% people retain information if there's a structure versus them versus not retaining it if there's not a structure. Did you know that? 40% of people can retain information as long as there's a structure, but if there's not one, 60% will not remember it. So this is my thing. You got to make sure that there is a structure. There has to be a structure there. You got to have one. So just like whenever you're doing those scenario-based questions, you have PAR, P-A-R. So you figure out what the problem is, what actions did you take, and what results did you take? What results was there? I said, did you take? What was the problem? What actions did you take? And what was the result? So that goes back to say, tell me about a time when you and a coworker did not get along. Don't say, oh, well, I get along with everybody. No, you don't. If you going to work for a company, you can ask Rajni, you go and work for a company, and let's just say your IT team makes up 14 people, you're dealing with 14 different types of personalities. So you're not going to always get along with someone. I'm not saying that y'all won't, have words, but there's going to be some times where you're not going to always agree. 14 different personalities. Okay. Today, one of my BAs literally just said, okay, yeah, so let's go ahead and change the color on that. And I said, well, good afternoon to you too. Now, I need more information. I'm a person, you got to speak. That's just me. Okay. So my thing is that you're dealing with different personalities. She could have took that totally wrong, and she could have. You know what I'm saying? Another thing is that I have to learn also is that when I'm talking to someone, I can't talk to Rajni the same way I talk to Yama. I can't talk to Yama the same way I talk to Ronald. I'm learning that. That's the reason why I have to look at those discs. So somebody sent me something in the launch, and I said, please do not send me duplicate emails because I get so many emails a day. Okay. So I said, please don't send me duplicate emails. I said, all I need is patience. I said that to one person, and he was like, oh, I'm sorry. Cool. I'm sorry about that. I didn't mean to send duplicate emails. And I said, oh, no worries. It's fine. You know, it's just that just know that the thing is I just got to get people to understand that my whole job is not the launch. Like I have so much other stuff to do. The launch is only a small snippet. So if I don't get to it right away, I just ask that you be patient, right? But I said the exact same thing to another person, and he completely was like, well, I would appreciate a little bit more respect. I was like, I didn't mean no disrespect. But now I'm noticing that I cannot talk the same way to one person like I can the other person because I'm dealing with two different personalities. Does that make sense? Mm-hmm. So one person received it as, oh, my bad, I'm sorry. And another person felt like I offended them. You see what I'm saying? So I didn't go off. I just said, oh, I'm sorry. It was no disrespect. I'm sorry. I did not mean to come off disrespectful. I was just saying that I get so many emails a day, and I'm just saying, please just give me some patience. Just be patient and give me time, and I'll get to it. Right? So that's the thing. That's why I said there are going to be times where you and a coworker are not going to see eye to eye. There's going to be times where you and your manager did not agree on something. You're going to deal with different types of personalities. So what was the problem that you were faced? What actions did you take? And then what was the results of that action? Okay. The other one is the STAR method. I talked about this in the last, in the very last section that we had in the last one. So the STAR is going to be the solution, the task, the actions that you took, and then what was the results? So that's a little bit of a longer one. And then my favorite one, because this is one I do to my son all the time. What, so what, and what next? He hates that. I do this to my son all the time. I do this to him and he hates it. What, so what, and what next? Okay. So let's talk about that. Oh, last exercise for the day. I'm only going to call on one person. Stephanie, I have not called on you tonight. I mean, I've called on you, but you have not participated. I participate. You participated, but you have not done any of the exercises. Yeah, let's go with that. Okay. So, Stephanie, take yourself off from mute, girlfriend. Yes. All righty. Okay. And then some of you probably saying, what is what? So what? What's next? Okay. What is it? So what is, why is it important? And then what next is what next? Okay. That's what that means. So my son can say, Mom, can I go over to a friend's house? It could be something that simple. You know what I'm saying? And I'm like, what are you trying to do? I want to go to a friend's house. Who's the friend? What next? Once you get there, what's going to happen? How long are you going to be there? Who mama there? Who can I talk to? That's me. So he hates it when I do that to him. Okay. So the thing is that, in this whole structure, it's all about structuring whenever you're giving stories. So whenever you're answering questions or answering interview questions and things like that, you want to make sure that you have a structure. So especially for those scenario-based questions. So it's all about communicating your communications and you sitting down trying to figure out a way. Are you going to use PAR? Are you going to use STAR? Or are you going to use what, so what next? Okay. So the way I would use what, so what, and what's next in an interview would be, have you ever had the opportunity to work with tell me about the time where you had to gather your own requirements? The way I would use what, so what, and what's next? If I had to answer that question with 10 out of time where you had to gather your own requirements, I would basically say something like, well, me gathering my own requirements, this is very important. Gathering requirements is something that needs to be done because all of that has to be written down into a business requirement document. And then this one you go into why is it important? Yeah, so what it is, I just told you that this it is a gathering requirements is what this is, and you're gathering, you're talking to the clients or the stakeholders and trying to get that information. And why is it important? Or so what makes it so important, right? What makes it important is because it is something that actually provides structure. It allows me to be able to see everything that you want to see for this actual whatever project that I'm working on and things like that. And then what's next is how did I deliver it? What was the results or whatever. Okay. So you can use that for anything. You always want to talk about what it is, what makes it important, and then what was the results of it or what's next to come. Does that make it? That doesn't make sense? So you can use par, star, or what, so what, and what next. All right, Stephanie, this is our last exercise. Dun, 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 dun. All right, so what I want you to do, Stephanie, since I've already talked about star before, I don't want you to use star. I want you to tell me what, so what, and what next. And I want you to sell me Slinky. Okay, this is your way to give me what, so what, and what's next by selling me a Slinky. And I like Slinkies. Okay.
Okay.
All right, go.
Hi, how you doing? Now, this is a Slinky, and actually, I love Slinkies. You can do a lot of things with them. You can actually wear them as a bangle. Bangles, just, yes, you can wear them as a bangle. You can actually use them as a toy to play with your kids. You can also just wrap it around your hand and just play with them, especially when you're bored and doing nothing. It can also be used as an exercise to exercise your muscles, especially when those muscles are kind of weak. You just mash on them, play with them, pull them out, and also use it to stretch out your muscles as well.
Okay. Hermala, how do you think Stephanie did?
She showed confidence, number one. She was confident in her answer, and she took a pass, like thinking about it, how to answer, how to process the what, so what, and what next. So yeah, she did good.
All right. One more person, Shina, how do you think Stephanie did? You on mute, sweetheart.
Yeah, I sorry about that. She did well. She took a little bit time to think what to say, and then she was too much into exercise. But the one small thing I feel like she didn't involve what next. I don't know if I'm right or wrong, but yeah, but I like the overall beginning. She take the breath and she built up her confidence, and she was like, okay, how are you doing? So she started like that.
Cool. All right. Thank you. So Stephanie, I thought you did really well. I'm like Hermala. I was a little off about what next. I didn't know what to expect, what next, but you did sell me on the bangle though, because who loves jewelry is me. Okay. So my thing is that that's a good thing. What I thought I was looking for, what I thought you were going to say is how people can actually put it on the stairs and it can go So, but my thing is that, yes. So you told me what it was. You told me that it was an actual Slinky. It's a toy. It's this, it's that. And then you told me what some of the benefits were. Like, you can wear it as a bangle. You can do this. You can do that. You can do that. I did miss what's next, right? So then my thing was looking for is the reason why. Like, why would I need to buy it? Like, tell me. You can go get it here, or, give me a call to action, that kind of thing. So, but other than that, I felt like you did really well because my thing is that you took time to think about what to say. And I think you went back into like your own childhood and said, okay, when I was using one of these, what did I do with it? Because you started using it, so you put it on it. So that lets me know you don't wear it as a bangle too, girl. Okay. So my thing is that that's another thing. Whenever you're giving these stories, Don't forget to go back to think about some of the things that you've done, especially with your projects and things. Like, utilize real life experience. Nobody's saying that just because you're not really in the field and things like that, but that does not mean you don't have the experience. Okay. You guys are creating these reports. These reports are real because we use them here in Colaberry. You are our development team. Okay. So a lot of the reports that you're building, I use them all the time. Okay. I think there's one coming through for HR. I'm like, hallelujah, you know? So my thing is that you guys are creating these reports and things of that nature. So with that being said, use that as real life experience whenever you're talking about something. And so she's selling me a slinky is her way of selling me her experience working with utilizing a slinky. You have to do the same thing. So when it comes down to your communication, you need to stop, processing, and figure out how the world you're going to be able to utilize real life experience to sell yourself. All right, ladies and gentlemen, that is the end of the communication skills. I really do hope that this did help you. Okay. Again, I told you this was not your typical communication skills workshop. It was just a lot more of me just making sure that I tell you a little bit and then make sure you see it. Like, I'm a visual learner. Okay. So what's coming in July is I have another workshop coming through. This is going to be, why are you interviewing me? Okay. One thing I do always ask one of my people is, I think it was, oh my God, I forgot who it was that I asked. This person was getting ready to get interviewed by a certain person, and I pulled this person up. I pulled the interviewer's LinkedIn up, and I said, looking at her LinkedIn, why is it important that she interviews you for this role? Why? She couldn't tell me why. The only thing she told me was, well, she's been at this company for 8 years. That has nothing to do with the reason why she's interviewing you for this role. So my thing about it is that we're going to talk about the different roles within different companies and why they would interview you, and then the types of questions they would ask based on their role. Okay. So if a project manager is interviewing you for a business intelligence role, why is the project manager interviewing me for a business intelligence role? That's something that you need to know. Like, and then what questions do you expect from the project manager? Okay. If the senior rep is asking questions, or if the business analyst is on the call or whatever, you need to know the reason why they are there interviewing you and what questions you can expect from each role. Okay. Okie dokie. Well, then that's all I have, ladies and gentlemen.